Trick or treat. The Bears traded Roquan Smith. I honestly am not sure if this is a trick or a treat. I do know it's real. Welcome in. We just got done with the show. Now we're going to do another show. It is a emergency episode of the CHGO Bears Podcast presented by DraftKings. Use that code CHGO when you sign up. Mark Carman is here. He's actually didn't even leave CHGO yet. I ran home as fast as I could. And Nicholas Moriano is over at Hallis Hall, which is why you're just going to hear the voice of Nick. And he is there covering everything going on. Matt Eberflus just spoke to the media, although it was, I believe, right, Nick, that happened before the trade happened?
Right after Dominic Robinson got finished, as soon as we got back to just our desks and everything, boom, Ian Rappaport, put the bomb on us that Roquan Smith was traded. Yeah.
So we might hear from the general manager, Ryan Poles. This is obviously a massive move. Potentially, Carm, not necessarily as obvious of a move, I think, as moving Khalil Mack for a second rounder when they did back in March, moving Robert Quinn last week for a fourth rounder. This is a guy that you could have potentially re-signed. He wanted $100 million. He's younger. But the trade compensation for those that may have missed it so far, the Bears get a second-round pick back and a fifth-round pick. So the Bears are loading up on draft capital. What's your initial impression, Carm?
So this is the biggest day of the Ryan Poles era, and I don't think it's anywhere close. Matt Eberflus hiring, drafting Kyler Gordon, first going the defensive route, backing it up with Jaquan Brisker. You just traded the linebacker who was second in the NFL in tackles since 2018, was leading the NFL in tackles this year. I understand that tackles is not the only way or a faulty way of analyzing the impact of a player, but Roquan Smith was your best player on defense, and that wasn't even close. And Poles is betting on himself. He is trusting his evaluation. He has seen enough. I don't know if it had anything to do, I highly doubt it, with his emotional response, Roquan's, to Robert Quinn moving out of here, and or any way in which he's handled the holdout and the season. But maybe his up and down play does plan. But this is a huge move and a bet on his. I'm betting on myself, man. I got a second and a fifth, and I'm ready to rock and roll in the draft next year and taking all the money to go elsewhere.
See, here's where I am right now. I mean, we just got done talking about this on our show at noon. He hasn't played like a player who should reset the linebacker market and be the highest paid inside linebacker in the NFL. Roquan Smith has been a very good player for the Bears, an absolute success story in terms of a draft pick. But I think Ryan Poles played this pretty well. He didn't want to rush into a contract back in the summer before he got to see Roquan Smith even play in this defense, barely practice even because he was holding out in training camp. And now he's in it, and it's a mixed bag. There's a couple weeks that have been insane. He looks like the best linebacker in the league. There have been other weeks, like yesterday, where he wasn't that good. He wasn't playing like regardless if he leads the league in tackles, he wasn't playing like a player you were going to feel comfortable giving all that money to. So I'm a little bit surprised this move was made, but I totally understand it. And another one of my first reactions is good lesson in not drafting inside linebackers in the top 10, because Roquan Smith was a successful draft pick. He's been nothing but a good player and a teammate for the Bears after getting drafted 8th overall, right? You still can't get more than a second and a fifth round pick back in return. So in terms of the value, when people say, oh, you don't draft this position at this value, I mean, this is a prime example why.
It's really interesting watching the comments come back and forth here. Bears fans who are freaking out, Bears fans who are going all in. And you're making good points, as you always do, Adam Hoge. Look, this dude has been performing mostly consistently for years, And the Baltimore Ravens were desperate for help at linebacker, and this is what they were willing to give up. Not a first-round pick. And the reaction as far as the value of the compensation is pretty much universal. The Bears did all right, second and fifth. I don't know how you come out on that one, Nick. But I just, on the human side and the emotional Bears fan side of it, this guy wanted to be here. He was a heart and soul guy in that locker room. Huge energy guy. You had Poles saying, during the holdout, I love the player and the person. And you also had him saying after the Quinn trade that, the impact on the locker room. This is going to have an impact on the locker room. There's no way around it. And you can say the tank is on. They're, Flus and them will do everything they can to win games. But, this one's going to reverberate in a huge, huge way.
To add on to that, Mark, real quickly, look, you trade away 2 captains in the past 2 weeks. And now I wonder, obviously, Ryan Poles now, and credit to Alex Shapiro for the draft capital they're going to have in 2023. It's going to be a first, 2 seconds, a third, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, and a seventh. You see why he's doing this, accumulating the picks. But what message are you sending right now to the players that are in this locker room right now? You're trading away 2 of these captains. We saw what the message was and how the team took Robert Quinn being traded. This is Roquan, a 25-year-old, 2-time second-team All-Pro player, someone who wanted to be a part of this defense. No, he had a bad game yesterday, but like you mentioned, Mark, was still the second leader in tackles. Now he's gone. It's like there's no commitment to some of your top players. And I get it. That's, Ryan Poles coming in, first-year GM. But these are big moves. Like you said, the biggest move, I agree with you, Mark. This is the biggest move that Ryan Poles has made so far in his young stint as a GM. But I wonder what kind of messages sends to the rest of the players in the locker room.
Here's the thing, though. Let's not forget, he asked for a trade. He demanded the trade.
Well, he did because they weren't going to give him the money he wanted. His original preference was to stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, let's not forget that part. He's the one that's tried to strong arm the Bears and say, it's come to this. Maybe only the McCaskies can save this, but it's part of the storyline here. So
yeah, no, it's true. That's true.
That part just can't be forgotten.
I also think that, look, Poles is looking around. He sees what everybody else sees. Probably, I would hope, sees it better than all of us. Bears need help at wide receiver. Bears need help on the D-line. Bears need help on the O-line. Yeah, they're going to have a ton of money, but when you're trying to add premium players, they're expensive. So if Roquan was the final piece in his mind to the puzzle, maybe he would have overpaid for him. But he's not. He's nowhere close to that. So he was left with a very, very tall task, and I guess a lot of people look at Roquan like he was a luxury, and I think that's how Poles probably looked at it.
Yeah, I think too the scheme matters. We've heard, and we might even hear from Corey Wootton, where he might jump on. We'll see here as we kind of throw all this thing together. But he talked early on in the season, like week 1, week 2, that Roquan Smith might just not be a great fit in this defense. And I think that there was definitely an adjustment period. Now he goes to the Ravens, so there will be an adjustment period as he goes to a different team mid-season and has to make those adjustments, but it's more of a hybrid 3-4 base scheme like what the Bears were running before. And so it would not surprise me at all if he just fits more comfortably in what the Ravens are doing. And maybe I think that's all going back to what I was saying earlier, Carman, Nick, like I understand if you're Poles why you were like, I have to see what this guy can do in this defense. And the results have been mixed. And so get what you can. I get it. I totally get it from that standpoint. And let me correct one thing. It's not really a correction. It's just an update because I've been very vocal about how I didn't think this was a full teardown rebuild. It's more of a retooling of the roster. And this definitely tilts the scale towards rebuild. No question.
Right, and that makes you wonder, is there more? Are they trading David Montgomery? Flus said at his press conference today that Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham, are working their tails off. Apologize to my Twitter faithful that I spelled tails wrong. That's a bad job by me. But that's what he said. And then 5 seconds later, Roquan went out the door. I don't know why I'm hearing myself back from the Nick rejoin here. Okay, there we go. So
Nick's having some audio issues, I think, at house.
So I working your tails off might mean that there's more coming, right? I mean, I almost think probable at this point. Not necessarily Montgomery, but something, right? I mean, we are in the rebuild. I'm going to have to come back on my 5 in a row. Bears are going to win 5 in a row thing, because what the hell is this going to look like after tomorrow? But you know what Nick was also saying, Adam. You know, what does this mean to the locker room? To me, it means a very clear thing. Hey, we are all in on winning next year. And if you want to be here, I am in full evaluation, and everything is up for grabs, and everyone is being evaluated intensely, as we're going to have a ton of salary cap space, and we're going to have a ton of draft picks, and we're trying to build this thing. I mean, this is the trying to build it, in my mind, at least as quick as possible. You're not waiting around. You're loading up as many assets as you can possibly have to have the most active offseason in the history of the Bears, basically.
Well, that's interesting, because I think some people might argue the opposite, actually, that this is going to take more time by unloading a bigger, because you do have to replace Roquan Smith.
You do, and I don't know.
It's very unlikely whoever they replace him with on next year's roster is as good as he is.
True, but and I highly doubt it. But you want to bring him back next year? You want to bring Robert Quinn back next year? They're probably going to be free agents sitting there. I mean, it's entirely possible, which would be completely crazy. But I don't know. We know one thing. They are going to be very, very active, aggressive in the offseason with that money and getting as many good players in here as possible.
It's the one thing I will say is it certainly makes you wonder about what could still happen here in the next 24 hours, right? And David Montgomery, but also like the lengths of what they could go to. Like, if you're going to trade one of the running backs, does Khalil Herbert get you more in return?
Well, that one he doesn't cost you anything. So I would think that they would want to have that dude in their locker room for not only for the performance but also because of his salary. But let's go off the board here. Darnell Mooney, do you love him? Are you going to pay him? I think you do, but that would be, on the high-end aggressive side of things, which is where they're at right now.
Well, that's where, and you really, though, I mean, at what point are you completely damaging your quarterback's development if you take away Darnell Mooney, too? I think that's a little crazy.
Excellent point.
Well, guys, the Bears like trading away captains, so now you got to look at Eddie Jackson, who just became a captain today, being a permanent guy. But no, if we're throwing out names, like, again, nobody seems to be off the board. It's probably like Justin Fields is the one guy, right? He's untradeable, but there is no connection. There is no establishment to any of these guys that Poles has. So, anybody can be on the board, but that's what's gonna. I mean, that's why we're again going into hypotheticals here.
Yeah. I think. I think it's I don't know. It's certainly, I understand why the fans are sort of split on this, because he's one of your own. Usually you want to keep one of your own. You want to re-sign your own, especially when they've been successful picks. But that's where, again, I think I got to remind everybody, like, he's the one that thinks he's worth more money and requested a trade in the offseason. So if it's not going to happen, and also I'm telling you, I think part of the evaluation is how he's played this year. And like, if he has been lights out, perfect fit in this defense at his age, they would pay him. They wouldn't be trading him today for a 2nd and a 5th round pick. If he was Shaq Leonard, if he was what Shaq Leonard meant to the Colts defense when Matt Eberflus was there, this trade ain't happening today, in my opinion.
I don't disagree. It's not like they're actively trying to, you're a good player, but we didn't acquire you, so you're not sticking around. I mean, they're not. These are not idiots. I think if we were to take a poll of Ryan Poles in Bears Nation right now and his approval rating, I think it would be at least 75%, right? I mean, I'd give him the thumbs up personally. Okay, fine. You probably missed on Bayless, but you're hitting everywhere else. This is a high-end risky move that may look terrible next year or down the line, but my lean on it is that they'll get value, and they'll the way that this whole thing shakes out a year from now with the money they're spending, that Poles is going to come out on top. Listen, it's just I applaud him for picking a direction and going there. It took him a little while to get there with Roquan, right? Like in the offseason, I'm like, hey, if you're not signing him, then move him. Include him with everything else you're doing, Khalil Mack and company, and they didn't. So that was confusing to me. So they, I guess, wanted to evaluate him through 8 games. They've made their evaluation, and the evaluation is we're good. See you later, 2nd and 5th.
Yeah. Well, I think Eddie Jackson is the interesting name I would, and David Montgomery. Like those are the 2 names that I would keep in mind here over the next 24 hours as possible other moves. It is kind of interesting to go over the Bears draft picks going forward. Just in this coming year, they already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks going into the draft, and 6 of those are in the 4th round or lower. So you have 1 first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and 2 4th-round picks.
2 5ths.
And 2 5ths. Yep. So loading up in the first 5 rounds. I mean, so 8 of those 9 picks are in the first 5 rounds, with 4 picks in the top 3 rounds. I mean, that's where we saw what Ryan Poles did when he was able to add all these picks last year. And the one downside was you didn't have a first round pick. You really didn't have these high picks that you were going for. So he just loaded up to have these later picks this time. And oh, by the way, it's only October 31st. It's Halloween. He already has accumulated 9, and 8 of them are in the first 5 rounds.
You want to remember Ryan Pace for 1 minute? 2018. No, not necessarily, but I'll do it for you anyway. Sorry.
Where are you going with that?
I'm just going to the 2018 draft. 2018, Roquan, followed by James Daniels, followed by Anthony Miller, followed by Joel Iwe-Bunye, Bilal Nichols, Kylie Fitz, Javon Wims. That would be 0 for 7 as far as being on the Bears roster at this point.
Yeah, the Bears have 4 first-round picks on their roster right now. The only one who was drafted by the Bears is Justin Fields.
That's amazing.
That's what happens when you trade away a lot of first-round picks and can't re-sign the other ones that you made earlier. So, it's a big day. It's a big day for the Bears. I think going forward. How about first of all, just in the our GM Jake Flanagan chiming in. Roquan is at minimum 50% responsible for this trade happening now in season. Poles made a solid offer, and Roquan and his non-agent passed.
Well, we don't know exactly what the offer was. Do we? Am I misremembering?
Well, we don't know the exact offer, but Roquan claimed it wasn't fair, that they were negotiating in bad faith. Let's not forget that statement was a turning point. It was a bombshell put out there the morning of Family Day. It felt way too soon, way too aggressive. Would not have been worded that way if an actual agent had handled it. It accused the Bears of negotiating in bad faith, which is a high charge to put up against a first-year general manager. And he demanded a trade. Like, that context all matters in this. And then, oh, by the way, he went out there and just played good, not great. Not $100 million great.
No, he had a roller coaster season, and all of those are fair points. Spot on, as Jake is underlining. I wonder, as he's sitting there right now, right, packing up his stuff at Hallis Hall. Life moves along. You are now a Baltimore Raven. You know, who the hell are the Ravens playing this week? I don't know, but that, you know, you are now stepping in where Josh Bynes has been struggling along with Patrick Queen. You are the man now in Baltimore. They tried to sign Bobby Wagner in the offseason. He ended up with the Rams. Well, you're the answer now, and you're leaving the only organization that you have ever known. Is Roquan, you know, looking in the mirror as he gets ready for the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football? Is he looking in the mirror and thinking, wow, maybe I should have hired an agent, or maybe I should have. I really messed this up. I'm sure he's got a ton of emotions flowing right now, right?
Yeah, I imagine so. It'll be interesting to see what the Bears do going forward. They still got to play 9 more games this season, Carman. That defense gave up 42 points yesterday.
Yeah, it's the degree of difficulty is rising by the minute, seemingly.
You put Jack Sanborn there in the middle?
Oh my God.
Or I'm sorry, weak side. That's another thing. Who's playing the weak side? Like, you have to put Nicholas Morrow over there, Sanborn in the middle.
I would hope that the Bears are scanning some practice squad somewhere and finding a linebacker that wasn't drafted that they like and giving somebody an opportunity. And we're getting a $2 super chat from Anthony Ortiz saying that Jack Sanborn's going to win the 2024 Super Bowl MVP. All right, Anthony.
That's just facts right there.
I mean, you might as well, you know, be the first one out there to get that on the record, Anthony. Good job, because maybe, you know, Badgers for life. Let's go. I can't think about how they're going to fill holes right now. There is
an unconfirmed report out there that AJ Klein is coming back to the Bears in this deal. I haven't seen that anywhere else. So,
Stashy's saying it too.
What's that?
In the comments here.
Okay, I'm talking about, like, no offense to Stashy. I'm looking for Adam Schefter to tweet it. That's what I'm looking for.
I'm with Stashy.
Or my own phone to get a text confirming it. But I'm with you, Stashy. Appreciate you.
I'm with Stashy. Screw Schefter. Stashy grading the Schefter. Let's go.
Yeah.
So far, Josina Anderson has reported that, but I haven't seen it from anybody else.
Right, and Josina Anderson blocked me on Twitter 3 years ago for no apparent reason, so I can't even see that tweet. So I cannot confirm that right now. But it is a guy. He's probably, to me though, AJ. Let's just say if it is AJ Klein. Maybe he's just to me, he's just a depth linebacker, Sam linebacker, kind of filling Jack Sanborn's role after Jack Sanborn wins the Super Bowl MVP.
Listen, we are going to have to continue to make this season about what the season has always been about, and that is the quarterback. So there's got to be part of Ryan Poles who is also thinking, yeah, we are going to win less games, which means we are going to get a higher draft pick, not just in the first round, but in the 17 zillion other picks rounds that we have as well. So let's continue to do everything we can to support the quarterback, keep him upright, not get him hurt, and let him feel supremely confident going into year 3, and we will figure out the defense aggressively in the offseason. And hopefully guys like Dom Robb can continue to improve. Same thing with Travis Gibson. Same thing with both Jaquan and Kyler. I think that's, you know, they are not about winning right now. They are about development, and that's okay.
Looks like Corey has jumped on here. I think he's on the road too. Corey, what's up? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. You guys got me?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear. You know, you and I just said about 2 hours ago we weren't sure another move was going to be made. What's your reaction to this massive trade that Ryan Poles just pulled off?
Oh man, like I'm a little disappointed because I like Roquan as a player. I thought he had a future with the Bears. But it seems like what Pole's direction is going towards is trying to get as many draft picks as possible for next year. It seems like he's not worried at all about this year. Complete rebuild, stacking up for next year. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed because that's two members of the defense that were probably two of your better players that are now gone on a defense that seems like it continues to get worse.
Woot, do you believe in Ryan Poles as you're driving back wherever you're driving right now? Are you sitting there like, whoa, all right, that's my GM? Or are you sitting there scratching your head like, I'm not sure if that's my GM?
I'm scratching my head about the Roquan trade. So I just don't know. I felt like he had a spot with the Bears for the future, right? I know people were talking about numbers and he may not be worth this, but I think Roquan is going to absolutely ball out with the Ravens. You know, they got a talented defensive line. Calais Campbell and company, you know, he's going to be reinvigorated. I think he's going to be what we always thought he would be, a Pro Bowl caliber guy. So I think we should have kept him in the organization personally.
So, Corey, you've been loud and clear about the impact that trading Robert Quinn had. You could definitely understand the business side of that one, but you know, we just did a show earlier. We were talking about the impact it might have had on that 42 points the Bears gave up yesterday on defense. I can only imagine what that locker room's like right now with Roquan Smith leaving. Those are your two defensive captains at the start of the season. How do you think this is going to reverberate within that locker room?
Not very good at all. And I think we saw that with the Cowboys just letting Robert Quinn go. I mean, it was like deflating for them, right? Coming off a great win and performance against the Patriots. And then all of a sudden you thought they would have the confidence going forward. And we just didn't see that. So I think the morale of the team, that's the one thing I'm worried about, right? In back-to-back weeks, losing two of your captains, your leaders out there, two of your best players against arguably one of the hottest teams offensively at times, right? With Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. It scares me going into this week.
I'm thinking back in my head right now about, the one time in my life that the Bears won a Super Bowl, and there was this guy by the name of Mike Ditka that I think people have heard of. And he said at the time when he was with that team, famously, some of you guys we're going to win the Super Bowl in whatever time for it, and some of y'all are going to be here, and 50% of you will not. And I just assume the Bears are looking around that locker room right now like, some of us are going to be here, and others of us are either going to be playing elsewhere or it's going to stand for the NFL is going to be the not for long thing. I mean, you cannot – there's probably very few people in that locker room that feel secure about their jobs right now at Hallis Hall.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, obviously Justin Fields, Khalil Herbert, David Montgomery, I think they see a future in there. But defensively, Eddie Jackson, maybe, is probably the only one I can see maybe, and Justin Jones that I feel confident will be there next year.
Kyler.
So, I think it's just tough, when you mess with the locker room. And I guess you just got to trust the process of Ryan Poles, right, for next year. You got to trust his plan going forward. And fortunate, defensively what happened, but we're just hoping next year he'll lock and load in free agency and the draft, and we'll be ready to go.
See, the thing is, Corey, you named two guys though that I could also see move by tomorrow, and David Montgomery and Eddie Jackson. I mean, if he's trading Roquan Smith, if I'm those guys,
that's very true. Like David Montgomery, I can see that, right? They feel good about Khalil Herbert as well. So, yeah, it seems like he's trying to make as many moves as possible, and he's almost like, I'm not worried about this year. It's all about next year. But at the same time, you want to be competitive, and you want to improve every week. But you don't want to go the other way. But at the same time, he's just saying, like, I'm putting all my eggs in the basket for next year. Like, I'm showing out. I'm providing the best team offensively, defensively. I'm addressing all these needs, and we're going to be ready to go and compete for playoffs and potentially a Super Bowl.
I'm just curious from a player standpoint, Corey, when a GM gets up there, and I don't know how much they pay attention to press conferences, but you tell me, When he says, I love the player and the person, and then 3 months later he's trading the player and the person, do you now look at your GM and be like, dude, why are you ever coming up to me and saying anything? I can't trust you? Or are you just, he's a professional, I'm a professional, and what player moves he makes really doesn't impact our relationship at all?
Yeah, I think a lot of people might get bent out of shape out of it, but you got to realize this is a business at the end of the day, right? So if they find value in other ways that they can get picks, money, whatever, you're going to try to use that to your advantage. So I think guys understand that, like, listen, you could be here and be in the future, and then all of a sudden something changes like a snap of the finger. So this league happens fast, and ultimately that's why people never really get comfortable, because you could be on another team at any given second, right? We thought Roquan would be a lock for the Bears, probably play his whole career here right before this season. They were trying to get contract negotiations, but things work out differently, and guys realize that it's a business.
Hey, Corey, I know this trade's still fresh, but there's still 9 games left to play here. I'm curious what you think about what the Bears should do with their linebackers are going forward. Is obviously a huge void now in the middle of that defense.
Yeah.
I think it might be a lot to ask Jack Sanborn to go play Will. Do you move Nicholas Morrow to the Will? And then meanwhile, there's it's now is confirmed by a bunch of other reports. Ian Rappaport's on it, Adam Johnson's on it, that AJ Klein is coming back to the Bears in this deal. Again, though, I'm not sure that he's more than just a Sam in the defense.
Yes.
But how would you sort it all out in the short term?
Yeah, well, I think if he's available to play, obviously you play Klein out there at the Sam like you talked about. And I think maybe moving Morrow to Will at this point, right? I mean, it's tough just because we don't have the personnel, but I think that's what we have to do at this point, right? Sanborn, it is what it is. We have to play the best guys there, and I think, those two guys and then Klein playing the Sam are probably the best options at linebacker right now. But next year, I'm telling you, Ryan Poles, you better have a monster offseason with the free agency and the draft picks that you've acquired to make this worth it, right? Because if not, it's going to look bad on him.
By the way, Stashy had it ahead of Rappaport and Schefter on Klein. So way to go, Stashy.
All right. Yeah. We'll let you go, man. Appreciate you jumping on and all the great work today, too, earlier on the show. Hopefully everybody goes back in the pre-Roquan days. We had a podcast just a few hours ago recapping everything that happened yesterday. Woot was awesome breaking down the defense. All that stuff is still relevant. So thanks, Corey.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you, Woot.
All right, Corey Woot. We also had a good breakdown of the defense. By the way, Roquan Smith struggling in those videos that we broke down earlier this morning, too. So all that stuff, very, very relevant. This is a shorter podcast, but I do want to tell you real quick. First of all, if you're jumping on here for one of the first times, thank you. Welcome, CHGO. We have shows every day on every team. We've already done one today on the Bears. You can catch us most days at noon, also pre and post game, before and after every single Bears game. We also have a big tailgate coming up this weekend. Please hit that like button, hit subscribe. This weekend at allchgo.com, you can get your tickets. It is Sunday before the game, corner of Michigan and Roosevelt. It's a great deal. The best deal you're going to get on a tailgate includes all food and drinks. Check it out, allchgo.com. And I can tell you that Green Ridge Farm is the official meat sponsor of our CHGO Bears tailgate. So you'll be treated with some very just unbelievably good meat at the tailgate from our friends at Green Ridge Farm. Make sure we want to see all you guys. And even if you're upset about the Bears trading Roquan, we can talk about it at the tailgate. Come out, we'll discuss it.
Listen, you're going to have the all-natural deli meat, the sausage, the meat sticks, the chicken, Black Forest beef, jalapeno cheddar, spicy chili. You're going to eat incredibly well, courtesy of Green Ridge Farm. You're going to drink well. And this is a little bit of diehard time. We are slogging through an aggressive Ryan Poles reworking of the roster, saying goodbye to incredible contributors in Roquan. I get it, wasn't perfect, but Roquan Smith was a great player for the Chicago Bears. He doesn't need to be besmirched on his way out of town. The dude did a ton here. Obviously, 2018 being the highlight, and the Bears going to the playoffs and the double doink year and all that. But to me, this, as we get towards the end here, Adam, this is overall for me, it's exciting. It's sad to see Roquan go. But the Bears have a general manager right now who is loading up to restock this roster in the most aggressive possible way. And in addition to that, you have a quarterback who is coming into his own. That is an interesting phenomenon that has not happened at Soldier Field in Chicago, where it belongs in, I don't know, my lifetime. So the Bears' direction right now, as tough as a day as this for a lot of Bears fans, I think you got to feel pretty good about where this team is headed.
Yeah, and you know what? For Roquan, he ends up in a decent spot. I mean, I guess we can't assume anything, but the fact that you have a 2 and a 5 for him, you got to think that the Ravens are making this trade with the intention of signing him and giving him that contract. In fact, a lot of times when these trades are made, maybe the contract is getting done. I don't know. But they have a big kind of situation going on with Lamar Jackson. So it's not like the franchise tag's really going to be in play. They got to figure out that whole situation out with their quarterback. And I think Roquan's probably getting paid out of this. I mean, maybe a heck of a lot to give up for just the rest of the season if the Ravens don't keep him. And oh, by the way, from one good linebacker franchise to another, and I think a defense that we saw this season probably fits him a little bit better. Maybe he'll be a little bit more comfortable going and playing in that scheme out in Baltimore. But wow.
Listen, Baltimore is an elite organization. He's going to play for a great head coach. They are incredibly linebacker friendly. They are very much in need. I'm looking at their cap space for next year. If Spotrac is correct, they've got a little over $37 million available. So, maybe I guess I would not rule out that you could hear about a Roquan extension in later today in the next couple of days at some point here. It would be a little crazy, but who knows?
Remember, Lamar Jackson also represents himself. So that's an interesting wrinkle for the Ravens. They got to figure that all out with these two players.
I really, that part of it for Roquan, I just feel bad about it because I wonder if he did have an agent, if it would have worked out different for him in Chicago, which I think ultimately is where he wanted to be, but that's just not the way it went down.
Maybe. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Appreciate everybody jumping on though for this this emergency crazy trade podcast. Carm called me when I was driving home. Definitely wasn't expecting that. I was driving, so I hadn't seen it pop up on my phone yet. A couple super chats here. I think we might have a few. Daniel Trump saying this is a terrible, awful trade. We should have paid him. Sacks, interceptions, tackles for loss. The man was great. Certainly understand that feeling. Mitchell, I really hope one of these overachieving teams, Seattle or the New York Giants without a QB, end up having to trade up with us for a quarterback. Give me all the picks. Possibility.
We traded back a bunch last year, and that worked out. Anything's possible, although the Bears need some premium players here, so that'll be, I think, a little more challenging to do next draft. But we'll
Michael
see.
With the $4.99 super chat. Rookie contracts, groom high potential players, more shots at finding gems. Roquan dug his grave. Also, Wootton for thank you, Wootton, for validating my Williams assessment. And next one, they better load the offense up for Fields. Nervous and excited about this upcoming offseason. Kind of sad, kind of split. I don't know. Bear down. I think that's a pretty common sentiment. Edward says, do not trade Eddie Jackson. We took a decade to stabilize the safety position. Leave him alone.
I don't think they're trading Eddie.
Yeah,
but
we'll see.
Knows?
I think it depends on the offers. I think it depends on what they think is fair and if it's something that can help them, they might do it.
And who knows what's going on, but I am seeing some tweets out there, including one from Dan Wiederer, saying that rumblings are around that the Bears might not be done the next 23 hours.
Kind of feels that way when you move somebody as good as Roquan. That definitely says, hello, we're open for business. Swanky asking what kind of candy I am passing out tonight. Great question. Do not know. I did not buy the candy we're handing out. I apologize. But typically, if I buy like the mixed bags, I save all the Skittles for myself and hand out the rest.
As a parent, these are the taxes that you have to take on your kids. So, they need to learn lessons young here. I assume you are doing that, Adam Hoge, right?
Oh, yeah.
James has got to, he's
teaching lessons?
Yeah. James goes out there. He looks cute and gets candy, and then you take 1/3. That's how this goes.
By the way, one last piece of news: Adam Schefter is saying the Bears are eating $4.8 million of Roquan's remaining $5.4 million for the rest of the season.
We're just paying everybody to take our players at this point. Give us high. Good job, Ryan. Hey, get the higher picks. We'll eat money. Give us more. I got it.
Yeah. Crazy. Hey, we're not done though here on CHGO. We are done for right now, but coming up tonight, we do have CHGO Bears After Dark. It's starting at 8 o'clock tonight, not 7, 8 o'clock, different time. It's presented by DraftKings. So jump back on here at 8. Greg Braggs and company will have you covered with the big trade and everybody's feelings within CHGO. Should be a big crew jumping on, and then we'll be right back tomorrow at noon. We have more time to digest this, and maybe there'll be more trades at that point. We will keep you posted. Carm, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are basically where we started the show, that I am buying what Ryan Poles is cooking up. So I enjoyed Roquan, but I get how we got to this point, and I think Ryan Poles, at least for me, has earned the benefit of the doubt of how he goes through the draft, and I will be extremely interested, because we didn't get to see that last year, except for a couple sprinkles here and trying to find value, how he will do with the incredible amount of money he's going to have at his disposal. So, to me, this is a kind of a tough day for the Bears, but also a winning day for the Bears.
All right. We will see everyone at 8 o'clock tonight. Bears After Dark. Happy Halloween. It's been an interesting one. Talk to you later.